In life and business, have you ever struggled to know when it is that we should be adapting and trying new things and doing different things and doing things differently, or when we should be focusing, zeroing in, staying consistent? I know for entrepreneurs, myself included, I have been in places where I zero in and just focus and go all in on something, and then other times I am hopping like a frog from lily pad to lily pad to lily pad. New idea here, we could sell this, we could do this. Well, maybe I should come over here and offer this new service. I might make even more money if I come over here and offer that service. And I've tried to figure out, at least for me, what is it, like what are those metrics that matter? How is it you know when you should really dive in versus when you should kind of bounce to something new, try something, explore? And here's what I've discovered. There's a few key metrics that can be used as some guides as we're making those kinds of decisions. So one of those metrics is going back to your goals. If you don't have goals established, then you're just kind of floating along in life, going wherever the current takes you. But if you have a goal, you know where you're at currently, you know where you want to get. It makes it so much easier to know when it's appropriate to adapt and pivot, and when it's more appropriate to just zero in, stay focused, and keep pushing forward on that endeavor that you're hoping to accomplish. So that's the first one. Know your goals. Second is going back, if this is about business, looking at the core values that you have for a company. So if you don't have core values established, then again, your business is just kind of floating along and it doesn't really have any strong direction behind it. And it's so much harder to go and achieve something without that strong direction. It's almost like trying to have a boat without any ability to steer. You could have the motor and you could have that engine revving and running, but who knows where you're going to end up. So the second is making sure that you have core values. Once you have your core values established and you're trying to make those decisions, you can look at, all right, here's where I'm at today. Here's the new idea. Does it fit within my core values? Does it fit within my goals? If the answer is no to both of those, then you need to ask yourself, am I going to have a fundamental shift on my goals or a fundamental shift on my core values? Because if you're not, you are not supposed to go out and chase that new endeavor. It's just not going to work. But if you're willing to make those fundamental shifts, and I don't recommend making those shifts lightly, when you're talking about your major goals, when you're talking about your core values, those are things that should stay largely intact for a long time, most of the time. If that's where you're at, probably let that one slide and keep focused on what you're doing. The next item is oftentimes we need to pivot, adapt, shift, adjust because of changes in the world. So technology changes. We have technology that's advancing so fast all the time, and it's not going to slow down. So if something comes along, some technology comes along, some new innovation comes along, and it's shifting the world, then it's critically important that we do take the time to pivot and adjust. But oftentimes we want to pivot and adjust in a way that stays true to the goals and stays true to the core values. The next one is the market. So if your customer base shifts for some reason in their buying habits or their desires or their expectations, that is oftentimes a time that will be a leading indicator that it's time to make some adjustments in your business as well. But if you see someone doing this other service and you're like, oh, I could do that too and probably make some money, usually that's a bad idea. Case in point, probably it's been about 10 years ago now, I was talking to this guy and he's like, man, have you heard about so-and-so? So-and-so is bringing in all these people. He puts them in a room. He's charging $200 and it's a half-day seminar. And he's just making like $5,000 a day on these half-day seminars. I need to get into that. What can we offer? And I was like, whoa, I mean, that's cool that you've seen someone else do that, but it's not your style. You've never done a seminar before. And what your specialty isn't something that a lot of people would want to sit down and learn about. So there was several red flags, and it probably wasn't in his best interest to go and chase that opportunity simply because it wasn't a match for his skills, for his goals, for his core values. It wasn't a match for any of that. It was just something that he saw someone else doing and he wanted to chase that shiny object. So I know Personally, I found decision making has worked so much better when I use these metrics, and I'd love to hear feedback from you on what metrics you use to make decisions, or if these metrics help you as well.